July 21st, 2016 meeting of the Livingston County Board to order. Pledge of Allegiance led by Bob Young. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Arbogast. Here. Bunting. Gimbel. Carly. Weller. Here. Runyon.
Here.
Mays. Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Heath. Yoder. Coleman. Steichen. Schaefer.
Here.
Ingalls.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Ritter. Gerwin. Flott. Allen. Bannon.
Here.
Kestner.
Here.
Peterson.
We have a quorum. Entertain approval for the agenda. Motion by Engel, second by Holt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. I'd also entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Gimbel, second by Coleman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. I'd like to take a minute tonight to have a moment of silence for those that have been residents of Pontiac for a number of years. They will remember 38 years ago the riot we had at Pontiac Correctional Center. It's something that weighed heavy on me over the years working there. Lived right across the street when it happened. We see the direction of the things that are going on with the state, and I would just like to take a moment to think about that, and to, if you want to take a moment, say a little prayer for those that work there, and that never happens again, I'd be fine with that, but that's your choice. So if you would, stand with me and take a moment. Thank you. Down to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Young, second by Heath. Roll call, please.
Arbogast. Yes. Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Coleman. Steichen. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Gerwin. Flott. Allen. Yes. Bannon.
Yes.
Kestner. Peterson.
Okay, moving down to the action agenda. Highway Committee, Darrell Holt, Chair.
While Clay's on his way up, just to let you know that the tornado, when it came through, hit the salt shed, the backside of it. Insurance estimate was $21,000. Committee asked Clay to look at the possibility of because that salt shed's not large enough to handle the needs, look at the possibility of expanding that shed versus just repairing it. Also asked the county board chair to write a letter to our senators and representative about the grant money that we've been trying to get for expanding the maintenance building to include a kind of a tornado shelter section And they've agreed to send a letter in. I did just send an email. There's Senator Kirk also has talked about grants in his email, so I asked them to include him in their letter. Maybe we could move forward with this. We've been waiting quite a while to expand that area and provide protection to the employees. So with no really further action, I'll turn it over to Clay.
Thank you, Darrell. We only have 2 items on the action agenda tonight. Lettering results from July 12th in regards to Round Grove Township. They had a small aggregate section delivered to the job site, 1 mile of road, and that's going to Toby's Construction for $91,750.05. The other item is a bridge petition for Charlotte Pleasant Ridge. It's on the township line on 3000 East. We have a plate arch that is in poor condition. The bottom of it is rotting out. We're replacing it in kind. And the size of the pipe and the approximate cost on that is estimated at $15,000. Those are the only 2 items.
My motion would be that we approve these 2 requests.
Motion by Holt, second by Weller. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller. Runyon.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Plot.
Yes.
Allen. Bannon.
Yes.
Kestner. Peterson.
I hope there's no further questions, because Clay went over and sat down.
Okay, moving on to Agricultural and Zoning Committee, Bill Flott, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At our special meeting that we just held, the committee has been dealing with the question that if there is a referendum regarding wind energy, here is what the question would say. Now I gotta find the sheet. Here's the wording that we're offering. In my township, a yes vote would support having a distance of 1,600 feet between wind turbines and residences. A no vote would increase that distance more than double and may reduce the number of wind turbines built in Livingston County. I think at this time we're ready to present that. I'll make that motion that this is what the committee is recommending.
Motion by Flott, second by Gimbel. Discussion? Runyon?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I definitely support the idea of a referendum, but this language to me just is way too complicated, and I'm struggling whether even I can support this or not. I don't know. I wish it was just a lot simpler than this. I think it's just way too complicated.
I wasn't at the meeting, but I understand we had about 5 different versions, I believe, that the committee did discuss. Chuck, is Chuck handy? Have you got the first one that you presented? And I guess this can be as part of the discussion.
This is not the language that is similar to what I first proposed, but this is the one that went to the committee.
Okay.
It was alternative number 1. It was, do you support the development of wind farms in Livingston County, Illinois? It was the simple one, is that the one you're talking about? And then we had a bunch of other alternatives too. I don't know how you want to.
Sure. Maybe that'll just confuse people, but go ahead.
those ones. I don't have, I have the one that Bill and the committee approved, but I don't have the ones handy, that they reviewed prior to.
Well, let's go on with the discussion with the board. Let's hear from you. What are your thoughts here? We heard from Mark. Kathy?
Yes, I agree with having the referendum on the ballot. I've always agreed and always agreed that the constituents have a say. And that's why I'm on this board. That's why I wanted to be on this board. So yeah, and I'm not necessarily in agreement with the wording either. I think that needs some attention, but I am in agreement with the referendum being on the ballot.
Okay, let's be clear that the motion that we have on the floor is if there is a referendum, this is what the language is going to be. So we're just looking at the language that would be on the advisory question on the ballot at this time. That's what the motion is.
Mr. Ingles?
No, I'll try to keep this real short. We've been working on this referendum question for, seems like a year, maybe, or more. And we've talked, we've discussed, we've cussed, we've done everything. We didn't come up with a perfect wording for it, but it was hours of deliberation, and it's what we tried to fuse together that we thought seemed to be palatable to the Ag and Zoning Committee, seemed to be, you know, we didn't like all of it. The people that attended this didn't like maybe the way it was written either, but it got in what needed to be said. And is it the best way to deliver a referendum? I don't know, maybe not. If somebody can write it, that's gonna make it clear and pass the mustard legally and with all the people, both for and against them, please write it up. But this is what we've got tonight, and we've got a motion on the floor, and in order that we don't lose out, I think we need to move forward and get this thing passed now. So,
Mr. Ingles?
I know earlier there was discussion about whether or not the concept of zoning at some level below the county was even legal, and I think we asked the AG's office for an opinion. We've not gotten an answer back. Okay. So we're only voting on language if it's determined to be legal to put it on the ballot?
We're only voting on the language that if it's on the ballot, this is what it would be.
But my question, I guess, my real question is, if we don't get an answer, are we going ahead and put it on the ballot?
yes.
Oh, good.
That's why we're in a hurry.
Well, I mean, I'd hate to put something on the ballot and have it passed. I don't have a problem with the question being on the ballot. I just hate for it to be on the ballot and say it passes, and then to find out we did something that doesn't meet legal muster with the state of Illinois.
But we still got the information.
One person.
It's always easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Is that as a former principal?
Yeah. No. Lawn mowing guy.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
And
Schaefer?
and this is the language. We're not going to muddy this up with the preamble, right? This is going to be the language.
That's my understanding.
That's the understanding.
Okay. Because I did have an alternative phrasing.
Yes,
Okay. So this is it.
this is it.
Okay.
Any other
Mr.
questions? Mr. Weller?
That phraseology that Bill read us a few minutes ago, that is the actual wording of the question on the ballot?
That's what we're proposing.
Mind reading that one more time?
One more time. In my township, a yes vote would support having a distance of 1,600 feet between wind turbines and residences. A no vote would a no vote would increase that distance more than double and may reduce the number of wind turbines built in Livingston County.
Ms. Coleman?
Are we, in the question, we're saying that it may reduce the number built? Is that, that doesn't seem like the information we're trying to get at. We are adding that, I don't feel like that information should be in there, I guess is what I'm saying. I just heard that, sorry. That doesn't make sense to me for that to be in the question. That's not getting at what we're trying to get at. The question is, do you want bigger distance or not? Is that the heart of what we're trying to get at?
The reason that that was put in there was to explain what the results could be, because it could reduce the number. If you go to 4,000 feet, which is what Indian Grove wanted once, is that use your microphone, please.
Apologies. There's a lot of things that we could explain. I don't know, it just seems odd, not odd, it doesn't make sense to me, that's all I'm just saying. We're not explaining any other outcome, just that one, and so therefore it stands out as an odd thing to put in there. That's in my not humble opinion.
Kelly, when we talked about this earlier tonight, well, no, that's okay. I mean, that's not why I said that. But what we came up with, if you had somebody that didn't really know, wasn't aware of what the vote was about, hadn't read anything about it, went into the voting booth, well, that gave them a little more indication to validate what they were voting on, if it said that in there, you know. That was the idea, that it was why it was there. You know, I brought that up earlier, and it was explained, you know, that was one of the reasons they thought we needed that particular phrase in there. Yeah, it seems to be a little, you know, what the wording is, but what is it?
It perceives readers.
Biased? I mean, you know, we talked about this at the Ag and Zoning meeting, if you'll remember, and nobody seemed to have an objection to leaving it in there. But it'll fly either way.
Mr. Kennett? Up to the microphone, please, sir. Up to the microphone, please, sir.
Couldn't we ask it in such a manner, if you support wind turbine with 1,600 feet in that language, and the alternative one being, or 4,000 feet, instead of being a yes or no, the thought would be is that the 1,600 feet, would you support it at 1,600 feet, and then the alternative one being, or 4,000 feet, so that because it doesn't have to really be a yes or no if you have it given them the two options.
It's not multiple choice. That's yes or no.
that's not the most.
Just something to think about on that though, because it ought to be able to be a little bit simpler than this. I know we've got enough talent here in the room tonight that we ought to be able to get that figured
Kelly,
out.
we've been talking about this for months.
Italic.
I know.
And there's arguments on the way that it's worded this way, there's arguments the way it's worded this way, and this is what the committee,
How about then, do you support wind turbine 1,600 feet from the property line? Vote yes. 4,000 feet or further, be in the no, but so that they know what the heck they're voting on when they, so that we don't have like we did last year when it came to a county board vote, people didn't even know what they were voting on. We don't want to put the
Thanks,
general
Kelly.
public in that situation.
thanks.
Thank you.
Bill, back to you.
Are we ready for the vote then? We had the motion and the second. Any further discussion from the board?
Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Runyon.
No.
Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vietti.
No.
Heath. Coleman.
No.
Schaefer.
With all its imperfections, yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Blott.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Kestner. Peterson. Motion carried.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. We just had a discussion in the special meeting before this meeting. Some of us are conflicted about whether there should be a referendum. And I know I asked you a month ago, board members, if you had any thoughts about this either way, to please contact me. I'd appreciate your input. Before we do the actual vote about the referendum, the language, the whole works is going to be in a resolution at the August meeting. I preferred that we had all of that done this month, but it just didn't happen. Anybody else like to say anything about that?
No, I just encourage you to continue with the bill because since I've been doing this since 1998, and never, this is the sole issue that has had a sustained effort for over a year. So I think it's on people's minds and it ought to be voted on.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. I believe that completes my report.
Okay, thank you. Finance Committee, Tim Schaefer, Chair.
Barb Sears here. She's always got transactions. Her office is always busy.
Good evening. In your packet tonight, you have a resolution I'm asking you to approve, which in effect cancels a tax sale certificate held by the county trustee and releases our right to take deed to the property because the owner has come up with the money to redeem all back taxes, penalty, and costs.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Good. So move. You got a motion from that young lady right there.
From Coleman.
Yep.
Second by Gimbel. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vietti. Heath. Coleman. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young. Blott.
Yes.
Allen. Yes. Bannon.
Yes.
Kestner. Peterson.
Thank you, Barb. I believe folks were provided a, what likely be the specimen of a purchasing policy. That was an effort on the part, certainly good work, great work on the part of Elena and John Clemmer on professionalizing our approach to purchasing. We didn't do a bad job before, but we're going to do a really up-to-date one now. Original intention was that what you saw was going to be the absolute final thing. It's oftentimes the case when it gets in front of attorneys, it has some subtle changes, so there will be some subtle changes, which will be provided before next time, so we won't be voting on that tonight. County clerk semi-annual report, both of these next two reports, the county clerk and the circuit clerk, were provided to you. We did endorse them at the committee level. Both clerks are not with us tonight, so I don't know that I can necessarily answer any questions you might have about those reports. Notwithstanding that, because of the regularity that we receive those reports, because of the integrity of the individuals involved, I would motion that both those reports be approved.
Motion by Schaefer, second by Coleman. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller. Runyon.
Yes.
Holt. Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Heath. Coleman.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Lot.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Kestner. Peterson.
Thank you. And just lastly, Mr. Chairman, to report that, as you know, this is typically the time the budgets are being set, and we're blessed with good staff, and both in our county board office and across the offices of the county, and those folks are working hard. They recognize that we are trying to bring our expenses more. We've had the blessing, mixed blessing, of the landfill, and that we need to bring those expenses more in line with revenues other than landfill. And that's the challenge before us, and we'll continue to work toward reducing that, and we'll reduce it again this year.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Okay. Sheriff General License in the absence of John Yoder, Bill Peterson.
Couple of action items, the sheriff's annual report for vote. Motion to approve it.
Motion by Peterson. Second by Weller. Discussion? We do have the sheriff here tonight if anybody has any questions. Not to put you on the spot. Hearing no questions, roll call please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller. Runyon.
Yes.
Holt. Holt.
Yes, I didn't get a copy of the report, so I'm kind of hesitant to vote. Yes.
Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young. Lot.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Kestner. Peterson.
Yes. And we also have a liquor license application for D's Four Corner. Motion to approve.
Motion by Peterson,
Let's second that.
second by Holt. Discussion?
I did get a copy of that.
Hearing none, roll call please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Holt. Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Plot.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes. That's the end of the report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Public Property Committee, Mike Ingles, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item on the agenda, excuse me. Good Sam is very near to move into their new facility, which means that Livingston Manor, as we know it, would be vacated, and the committee has discussed disposition of that facility. We actually put RFPs out and had absolutely no response, which wasn't a big surprise. But we also realized that you know, with no interest from anybody else, we're faced with the demolition of the facility as opposed to letting it sit vacant and further deteriorate. With that, we solicited and received a proposal from Deegan Associates, who does most of our environmental type work, to do the asbestos inspection and prepare the documents that can be, contractors can quote for asbestos removal, which will have to be done before we do any type of demolition. We received that proposal back, and it's in the amount of $6,900. The committee approved that, and I would make a motion that the board also approve that document.
Motion by Ingalls. Second by Holt. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vieti.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Coleman. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young. Flott.
Yes.
Allen. Fannin.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Mays. Peterson, sorry.
We also, the county owns, most people probably know, what's commonly known as Regions Bank over on Water Street, and Regions Bank as a tenant has vacated that. They had a relatively long-term lease, and obviously they would like to terminate that lease agreement. And we negotiated back and forth on the terms of that and reached an agreement that they would pay a portion of the future leases in the agreement in the amount of $42,000 less rent they had paid while we were negotiating. And the committee did approve that termination agreement. I would make a motion that that agreement be ratified by the board.
Motion by Ingalls. Second by Weller. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel. Weller.
Yes.
Runyon.
No.
Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vieti.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young. Flott.
Yes.
Allen. Fannin.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes. The only other thing I would mention is we continue to address, I guess, system-related problems with the Law and Justice Center, and Chad, I think, has us on a bright path to get where we need to be, where that is truly an automated system and requires little or no manual intervention, which it still does to date. He's putting in a lot of extra hours doing that. Additionally, obviously, we're working on budget and trying to address the most severe needs for various buildings throughout the county. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Elections, Rules, and Legislation Committee, Jack Vieti, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Christy Mashing attended our meeting and presented a request for appointment of the election judges for the upcoming period. Christy stated that once approved by the full board, the list goes on display for review and presented to the courts for final approval. Christy stated there was 187 election judges being presented for approval, so at this time I would make that motion.
Motion by Vieti. Second by Arbogast. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller. Runyon.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vieti.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Flott.
Yes.
Allen. Fannin.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel Committee, Kathy Arbogast, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had no meeting this month, so I have no report.
Okay. Information and Technology Committee, Vicki Allen, Chair.
Yes, the IT committee met at its normal monthly meeting. We've reviewed the monthly department report with John. He reviewed his budget requests with the committee. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary. And the committee reviewed and approved the bills presented. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Veterans Assistance Committee, in the absence of Joe Steichen, Mr. Kestner.
The Veterans Assistance Committee met, and we discussed the intergovernmental agreement. We're still waiting on the final language of that agreement. We also talked about maybe reducing the veterans' budget by 2 or 3%. We're still discussing that with the superintendent of the Veterans Commission. And then we approved the bills that were presented by Mr. Bailey, the superintendent of the Veterans Commission. That's my
Okay, thank you. Administration Committee, we talked about the budget for the committee office and for the county board, and we came in $100 less than we were last year. And we talked about the progress on our goals. That's it. Livingston County Housing Authority, report by Kelly Coleman.
The Housing Authority and the Livingston Property Development Boards both met yesterday. We did the basic review of financials and reports that we do every meeting. There are 2 officer units available, so if you know any police officers who would like to live rent-free in the Housing Authority, there's one apartment available in Meadowview and one also available in Chatsworth. We toured the new St. James Place. It's coming along. Superior Landscaping was working the day we were there, well, yesterday afternoon. Closer to move in, but we don't have a date set yet. Next meeting is Wednesday, September 21st at 1 p.m. at the Housing Authority office on 903 West North Street. Public is welcome anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Recreation Committee did not meet this month, so no report. Down to public comment. Yes.
I probably shouldn't be standing up here because I'm going to irritate a lot of people in this room right now. My name is Robert Edwards. I grew up in Dwight. The last 20 years, I did cybersecurity for Uncle Sam, and I attended the information assurance or information technology meeting here last week, and I was in shock. You have no CMP, no IRP. You don't even know what half the titles are for people that need to be supporting John. And you're an accident waiting to happen. You don't do penetration testing to see if there's any holes in your system. You don't do vulnerability scans on your networks. You people need a lot of work to do. And you need to understand what IT is about, not just budget. The other thing, you probably noticed about 3 weeks ago in the Daily Leader, my picture down in the lower left-hand corner where I was slamming the VAC. And I find it rather ironic that you would make a pledge to allegiance and yet you toss your veterans under the bus. We can't get to our VA appointments anymore because Mr. Bailey has decided, oh, I have a budget problem, I have scheduling problems. That's a management problem. That's not a veteran problem. He's saying that we can only go to Hines or Danville on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Peoria on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've had dialysis for the last 2 years. He's been kind enough to let me go on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but after my article appeared in the paper, Mr. Studebaker, he said, no, we are only going to Hines and Danville, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Peoria on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and oh, by the way, these VA Choice Network appointments, medical appointments, at local hospitals, that's on the veteran. They have to find their own way there. So you got a lot of problems and nobody's paying attention.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
For those of you that don't know, my name is Chris Studebaker. I am the president of the VAC here in Livingston County, and we have had to make some tough decisions in the last 3 or 4 months. As you've heard earlier, we're talking about cutting our budget by 2 or 3%. Mr. Bailey did not make these decisions. It was made by the Livingston County VAC, which incorporates every American Legion, VFW, and AMVETS post in Livingston County. So for him to throw Mr. Bailey underneath the bus is a complete lie. On top of that, what's going on with this Veterans Choice is not what the VAC was intended for. We were intended to transport our veterans to a VA facility. What we found out what was going on is these veterans would go to Hines, Danville, or Peoria, and the next thing we know, they're wanting to be shipped to Gibson City, over to Fairbury, over to Kankakee, down to Bloomington or somewhere else that's not even in our area that we transport. So we had to make a decision with our budget and our 3 vans that have probably over 100,000 miles each on them, that we had to make some tough decisions, and we did. So for him to throw us underneath the bus, we still support our veterans and we still help our veterans, and if a special circumstance happens, we will take care of our veteran. But unless the county board wants to give us an infinite amount of money to support our veterans and transport them everywhere, these are the decisions that we had to make. So thank you very much.
In the meeting, Mr. Bailey did say that he would take care of it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? I'd like to throw out a public service announcement. Department of Corrections will be hiring at Pontiac Correctional Center again. If you know someone, have them get an application in. These are good paying jobs, people. You start out at $42,000 a year, and there's not many jobs around here that you start out like that. So if you know of anybody, let them know. Just pass the word. Okay? Thank you. You fill out an application online, Illinois Department of Corrections. It's like 2 clicks and you get to the application. Yeah, quite possible. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 122 C21 semi-annual review of executive session minutes. Got it. Motion by Young, second by Ingalls. Roll call. Thank you.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Gimbel.
Yes.
Weller. Runyon. Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vietti. Heath.
Yes.
Coleman. Schaefer. Ingalls.
Yes.
Young. Plot.
Yes.
Allen. Fannin. Kestner. Peterson.